I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I want to tell you a story. I was staying in a hotel, and the hotel is in my town. But I had an event there, so I was staying there for the event the next day. Plus, I had an event in town that night and had been in town for church that morning. So all the driving back and forth, and it is quite a ways to my house, but the driving back and forth would have been a little bit difficult, especially at night. And I had done it the night before, so 2 nights in a row, and then the third day. Anyway, so I check in this hotel, and I find out from a young man who is checking out rather angrily that the elevators are broken. And he was like, "And this hotel?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." So I was checking in and I explained to the young woman that I have MS and was it going to be all right? And could you get me at a lower floor, the lowest possible floor? Did they have anything like behind the desk and all of that? And so she smiled and she said, "I'm going to try to do the best that I can." And then somebody from housekeeping came out and they said, "We got somebody in these rooms, in this room. We're going to get her in a good room." And so I said, "Well, I'll go over and have breakfast and while I'm waiting." And the manager came out to explain to me, when the real check-in time was. I said, "Sir, I understand. I just figured I was downtown. I'd see about checking in." So I was finished with breakfast on my way back, and the agent from the front desk, she came up. She said, "I've got your room ready for you." And she was so polite, and she said, "It's on the second floor, but it's still a little bit up because there's like a floor in between." And so I said, "I should be able to make 2 floors. I go up a floor every day. And so, I just do it for, just making sure I can continue to do so. If I keep moving a little bit, a lot, then I'm going to keep moving." And so she said, "Okay." I said, "Well, I can take my luggage." She said, "No, no, no, you can't take your luggage." So she said, "I'm going to go with you. I'm going to get a bellman to come take your luggage, and we're going to go together." I said, "I don't have any cash on me." She said, "I will tip him." I was like, "Girl, who are you?" Anyway, so we go, and I get in the hallway of the stairs, and I realize something that I should have known before. Now, we have older buildings, and the tall buildings that are old are still old, and historic buildings. And I stepped in that hallway, and I thought I was back in the Northeast, which also has those same old buildings. And then I realized, you know what? The North and the South were really cousins, and they had everybody else thinking that they were enemies, but those were cousins because that money went up north and them architects came down south and they built this thing because we had 30, 40-foot ceilings on the first level, which means the second floor is actually 3 floors up, but actually 6 flights, 6 landings up. And by the time I got done pulling myself up to there, I was walking down the hallway. They were like, "Your room's right here." I was like, "I can't even see." I was like, "Ooh, there's a lot." And they were like, "Yeah, it was a lot." And the young people were panting, and I was like, "Well, it's not just me." They were like, "No, that was a lot." And I saw some other young people coming. I was like, "Look, here come the fit people now." They were like, we ain't fit. It's a lot." So I get in the room and I've got to go to the event in the evening, and I'm like, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving because I can't come back up here. So I'm like there. So they call the organizer of the event, call, everybody's checking on me, or do you want to check into another hotel? I'm like, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. The event's gonna be here. I'm staying right here. Anyway, the elevator person's there working, they're trying to get it fixed. So they get everything taken care of. But in the meantime, they asked, "Do you need anything?" And I was like, "Well, if I could just get some water, if I can get, like maybe some chips or something, that's what I'm going to have for the rest of the night." And they go to their gift shop, and I think they brought me some of everything that was in that gift shop. It was ridiculous. The man who brought it up was the manager, and he was like, "I brought this for you." And I was like, "Sir, no, you didn't." Anyway, everybody was polite and kind. They brought the water. They also knew that I had a ginger beer. Not ginger beer is non-alcoholic for those of you who are wondering. It's delicious. It's ginger and sugar and lime and lemon and honey and whew. Anyway, so they brought me a ginger beer. They brought me snacks. I was fine, and I fell asleep fine because my body was screaming. And I realized that, um, when you are in the middle of a crisis, you can go one or two ways. When you're in the middle of a chronic illness, you can go one or two ways. That illness sometimes flares up and things happen in the middle of that flare, but a chronic illness stays. It is there. It is not going anywhere. It is going to be there. And it has these moments where you that are better than others, and some moments just flare up. And right now our nation's in the middle of its chronic illness. It's chronic illness that just doesn't want to recognize that the North and the South are still cousins, and that there's stuff that is embedded in the body and the blood of this whole nation that we have to address, that we have to be honest about, that we have to see, and we have to come together. And sometimes when these flare ups happen, it causes people to take a side, to pick a side, this one or the other one. But then there's another third side, that side that says, no matter what's going on, I'm going to be kind and decent. And I'm going to be myself in the middle of this flare up, because as bad as it's flaring up for you, it's flaring up for me, because everybody who's in this hotel that's mad about it is coming to me. And even though I'm dealing with all of that, I'm going to be who I can be. So I went back by because the elevators were fixed the next day. And I made sure I thanked everyone involved, writing a great review for all those involved, being grateful for the kindness in the middle of a flare up. Because just because I'm flaring on the inside, don't mean I got to flare up on the outside. It's hard out there, y'all. Stay who you are. I love you.